Happy Wednesday, folks. Welcome in. Thanks for tuning in. Man, Mr. Calais Campbell had a lot of things to say about our squad this week in his conference, man. It was nice to hear a 15-year vet say stuff like that. We'll get into that. We'll talk about what his impact and what his role is going to be on the team. Draft is 3 weeks away. We're really going to hone in what we're going to do here at 8. We're going to trade back. We're going to move up. Later round options, what we got there. We're joined by another special guest tonight. Mike, you ready, buddy?
I'm ready, buddy. Out of your Falcon mind. Let's go.
And welcome in to episode 98 of Out of Your Falcon Mind, Atlanta Falcons Fancast. My name is John, your host, joined by my co-host, Mr. Mike Cottrell. As always, buddy, what's happening?
Almost at 100, man. I can't wait. 98, 99, we're creeping along, man. I'm enjoying this. Can't wait for 100, buddy.
Yeah, man. 2 more, man. Well, 1 more after tonight, right? So we got next week, and just to give you guys a heads up, and I'll say it again at the end of the show, we're going to have our boy Chris on next week from our Saints fans. So we're going to talk some Saints off season, some Falcons off season. Obviously, we want to see what's going on with our rivals, and I'm sure he's going to have a lot of things to say about us taking a couple of his defensive members and his defensive line coach. So it'll be interesting to see. We've had a few texts back and forth, and overall, he's not been very happy with it. I'm dying to see what he thinks about Derek Carr, man. I really am.
Yeah, me too.
Because we haven't really talked about it. So, so make sure y'all tune in next week. We'll talk about that. And then the week after will be the 100th episode, of which, of course, we told you guys before. We'll have a lot of creators coming through, man, and stopping in. We'll have a few cool questions to ask, and we're going to open it up to the chat as well. We'll put the link in the chat so you guys can jump on and for a few minutes and talk with us if you want to, man. And again, same questions. If y'all come on, you're going to have to answer the same questions that we got for the creators too. So just know that. But they'll be good. They'll be relevant and to the show. It'll be fun. As always, guys, they're coming to you on the Variety Sports Network. Make sure you check out Variety Sports for any other teams you're following: baseball, basketball, football, wrestling, you name it. Bunch of shows on there, man. VSN football, if you want to look at some of our rivals, they're starting to build. We just got a Steelers podcast. They just joined. Obviously, it's not a rival, but if you have any interest in their teams, feel free to check them out. And also, if you're watching the show tonight, make sure you hit the like button for us. Helps us get out there to more Falcons fans. Hit the subscribe button if you have not already. Mike, I looked at the analytics, man. It was like 70% of our viewers are subscribed, which is good. That's great.
That's really great.
But other 30%, what y'all doing, man? Come on, you're already here.
You already here. Like the video and subscribe, especially if you come back. If we ass juice, if we the fries in the bottom of the bag, then don't subscribe. But if you like it, by all means, subscribe.
That's right. That's it. And of course, you're listening to us on iTunes and Spotify. Drop us a 5-star review. We will, and if you write us a few words on iTunes, we'll gladly shout you out on the show. So yeah, man. Before we get into it, we are brought to you today by Don't Know Shit at All.
Don't Know Shit at All. The new miracle drug.
If y'all haven't seen the latest little video that we did, or the Mike did today, it's 3 minutes and 15 seconds. I suggest you go watch it. If you want to laugh, you will do that and share it. Let everybody else know, because there's a lot of folks out there that could use some Don't Know Shit at All. I'm just telling you.
It really is. It really is. A lot of folks on Twitter that could use just a pill, a daily pill is life-changing. Do you struggle with things like saying, I don't know, I need to do more research before I get back to you? Just these things. If you struggle with these symptoms, Don't Know Shit at All, the new miracle drug.
National media, Twitter, I mean, it's all, we could all use a little dose. I'm just saying.
We could all use it.
Yeah, man. So we do have a special guest, man. Let's go ahead and bring him on, buddy. Mr. Xavier, what's happening, brother?
The XMan.
What's up, guys? How y'all doing?
What up, buddy?
Man. So if y'all are on Twitter, y'all probably know Xavier, or if you don't, you should. The man does his research. He looks at film. Huge Falcons fan, huge Atlanta fan, fellow Georgia State alum, as myself as well. So man, start off, buddy. Talk about your Falcons fandom. What year did you start? What was it? A player, team? Just growing up here? Like, how'd that all start?
Yeah, I think the first reason why I became a Falcons fan was actually despite my father, who's a Saints fan.
Wow.
Grew up in
that's good. Hey, that's a good kid, man. Now that's good parenting. I love it.
Yeah, just wanted to, go against the grain a little bit. Early 2000s. Obviously, Michael Vick was kind of the first guy that was like, yeah, this is it for me. This is where my fandom goes. I think my first jersey outside of like your generic like TJ Maxx Vic jersey with just a 7 on it and ain't got his name on the back, just a black 7. Was probably Roddy White. Wore 84 all throughout my football career, high school and college. So yeah, kind of ran with that. But yeah, been a Falcons fan ever since. And this year I'm gonna be a season ticket holder. That's the goal for this season.
Love it.
Get in the arena at least, if not 75% to 100% of the time for our home games this year. Yeah,
I love it.
I got a question. Now hold on, X. Was there ever a time where you teetered on that line and you almost went over to the dark side and became a Saints fan?
Hell no.
No,
hell no. I still remember the most heated argument my dad and I ever got in. I won't say hands were thrown, but it was close. Mom had to come upstairs and go, hey, calm all that down. It's just a game. Definitely some heated conversations between he and I. And obviously, he's from New Orleans, so the whole side of his family, that diehard Saints fan. So I've been through the battles, the wars, like nobody's business. Every Thanksgiving was a whole conversation around me and my fandom. So I'm ready. That's why I love talking to Saints fans, because they swear up and down we don't know their team, and I know your team like the back of my hand because my entire family is aware.
There you go.
So
I love it.
That's awesome. So was Roddy like? Would he be your all-time favorite, or who is your all-time favorite?
Funny enough, my all-time favorite is probably Harry Douglas. I'm a small guy, but I loved Harry's game. I loved his physicality. He put his body on the line every time he was out there.
Yep.
And I feel like Harry Douglas may have been a guy that was like maybe 5 or 6 years ahead of his time. We see it all over the NFL now with him, with guys like Terry McLaurin and company, like just short dudes who don't care and make plays. And I think that he got pigeonholed. Obviously, you got Roddy, Julio. He was obviously going to find his, fit in where he needed to fit in. But I think Harry in a different time could have absolutely been a monster, to be perfectly honest with you. Yeah.
Dude, there's a lot of short dudes in this draft this year.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, it really is. For current squad, favorite player.
gonna hit y'all with a really weird one, and that's that's D'Angelo Malone. But this comes to a conversation. This has a little bit of a deeper meaning. GSU played WKU his last year there. I actually got a chance to meet the kid and kind of talk to him. You know, I was working for Georgia State's videography, athletics, and working for the football team. And I had an opportunity to kind of just, talk to him, see his mannerisms, the whole nine, while he was still at WKU, and just loved the kid's energy. You know, obviously Georgia State ended up winning that game. It was in Mobile, but I thought it was a great. I thought he was a cool kid. I thought he was a great person. And so when we took him, I was like, oh yeah, bring him in. Like,
I'm back on, baby.
Like, absolutely, come on through. I hope he has an excellent year. We're gonna get to talking about the defensive line here in a second, and I think he's one of those kids outside of AK-47 who's gonna have an opportunity to go crazy with all the other guys that we've added.
100%, yeah, man. And I'll just goes to show you the difference there that when I graduated, because when I was in school at Georgia State, they sent out a questionnaire that said, if we have a football team, would you go to the games? I'm not kidding you. Like, they sent that shit out, and so we all marked like, yeah, that'd be great. Let's get a football team, and then we did long after I graduated. But it's okay. It's there now, and they did a great job, man, repurposing Turner Field. And I mean, it was if you haven't been down there, check it out. We're it's nice.
Great answers too, man. Because he's the first one who said Harry Douglas. I don't think
I haven't heard Harry before.
Anyone said Harry, and Harry is underrated because Harry will go across that middle and have no fear.
Did all the dirty work. That's what I'm looking for this year as far as receivers are concerned. We got the Julio and the Roddy kind of on our roster already. I'm looking for guys who are gonna come here, play 5 to 6 years, and they're just gonna put their body on the line and play like every game as it lasts. That's what I want to see. That's what I'm looking for.
Yeah, I don't think they're gonna have a chance with these coaching staff. I don't think they're not gonna allow anybody in the door that's not gonna do that.
Yeah, absolutely.
They've already shown that. I mean, like Brian Edwards, see it, man. Like Anthony Rush, ain't working out. Like, so I mean, it's definitely that way. All right, before we get into Calais, man, let's hop in the chat, see what's up. What's going on, Liam?
Liam, buddy, what's up?
He is apparently watching and playing. I think he's playing the show right now. So he's got that. So he's all on that.
Season. Yes, sir.
Carrie, what's up?
What's going on, Carrie? Vic, what's up, bud? Made another live.
Vic,
yes, sir.
Another one.
Bubba Gump, what's happening, man?
Bubba Gump, steamed shrimp. Kendra.
Kendra, good to see you. Oh, what's up, Miss Pam? What's going on? Jordan, what's going on,
Jordan,
brother?
What up?
Oh, man, let's see. Ty, what's happening, brother? Good to see you, man.
ATL
Faithful, what's going on, man? Appreciate you, dude.
Thank you.
Make sure y'all check out ATL Georgia Faithful. Make sure you guys check him out on YouTube for sure, man. Appreciate you, man. Appreciate you, Jordan.
Appreciate you, buddy.
This Carrie said you guys are definitely not the fries at the bottom of the bag. You're the fresh fries straight out there.
That's even better. Well,
we gotta put that on a t-shirt.
Yeah,
let's do it. How about it, Kendra? Didn't know you went to GSU. Look at this. We got a GSU podcast going on. This is great. Mike, you need to take a few classes there, bud.
All right.
False start. What's up, brother? Good to see you, man.
What's up, buddy?
He said, next time, bro, tell your family it took them almost 2 decades to tie the series.
There you go. Look, I got you, man. I got you.
There you go. ATL Jordan said, Malone going to get him, no doubt. Man, I hope so, brother. And Carrie said, excited for special guest Xavier. Big respect for telling the Falcons win all your family, the Aints fans. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. All right, so
I got a question real quick before we even start going.
Xavier,
if you have to keep one because you said your man was Harry Douglas, so you can only keep one. You going Zacchaeus or Scotty Miller?
Oh, I gotta go. Who actually?
You almost answered that without even thinking.
Yeah, I did.
So you had to reel yourself in.
Yeah,
so what you saying?
I'm gonna have to go Scotty, and the reason why I'm gonna go Scotty is Scotty is a part of what I like to call the return game. Right, Scotty will go back there, and anytime we need him this year, he's an electric returner. If you need him to be, that kid can go. And I love, like I said, short dudes. Myself, I was a short receiver in high school and in college. Scotty's a part of that gang. Hey, hashtag short gang, man. Look, we here. He run a 4.28. I'm not as fast, but I was close. Wasn't as fast, but look, I love seeing short receivers go crazy. So give me Scotty, and I was also a returner. So yeah, I'm biased. So go ahead and give me Scotty. Absolutely.
Said Scotty Miller.
Yeah,
you gotta love it.
Yeah. I think he's gonna be.
I love you, buddy.
No shade to Alameda.
Yeah.
I love Alameda's game. Don't get me wrong, but I'm gonna take Scotty. And also, Scotty has somehow killed us unnecessarily over the last couple of years. So I'm happy to get him away from Tampa. Y'all took one of ours in Russell. We're gonna take one of y'all's in Scotty. Thank you.
Yeah. I think Scotty's going to be one of the sneaky good signings, man. Over this year for sure.
Yeah.
All right, man. Getting into Calais, obviously he signed officially, and he had his press conference this week. Man, he had about a 25-minute long press conference. I had to take some notes on it because he said so much stuff. It's crazy. He said basically that he had, obviously other options. He was really close to signing with another team, but he decided that he just felt it just didn't feel right, and he had a 20-minute conversation with Arthur Smith to begin, kind of learned what the direction was for the club, and really believed in it. Spoke with Nielsen. He said he had a long conversation with Fontenot, talking about just everything, life, football, you name it. And one thing that was cool is he said, he's the type of guy who does a lot of research, and he does a lot of deep dives into where he goes. And I believe him. I mean, he's 15 years in the league. You're not just going to pick a random team to go to. Obviously, money comes into play, but at this is normally the time in people's careers when they want to go have a chance to win, and and they're not going to just go to a crap team to just flounder out the rest of their years, right? So he said that the decision was based off of football, and he said he really believed the team was going to be really good. He wanted to be part of it, and obviously he spoke with Mr. Blank as well, and excited about continuing his charities here in Atlanta, as well as the Arthur Blank Foundation, stuff like that, which is cool. He talked about what he liked in the team: potent run game. He thought Algier looked really special. He didn't play against him; he was out that game in Baltimore, but he was able. He said he helped in the game plan for it. Obviously, you watched the game. He thought Ritter played his best game against the Ravens. He said Drake looked really good, saw a lot of talent, and he said basically, looking at the road games last year, we were 1-7, I think, maybe 1-6, something like that. He said, but obviously the Bengals game was a 1-score game. He said what that told him was it's a young team trying to figure it out, because we were 6-3 at home, and so he basically saw a young team with a lot of talent, and he saw, he loves Jesse Bates. He loves the way he plays football. He's always respected him. A lot of respect for Onyemata. He said basically this defense can be a force, man. He said he prides him, he said the biggest question for him was how the team was going to use him. He was excited to find out they wanted to use him as a true D end, and not like, and the team didn't say Cam Jordan, but him knowing Nielsen's defense and what Cam did in that defense, kind of that role. And he said he projected himself playing around 60% of the snaps. Whether or not that's, I think Mr. Rothstein, I think he tried to follow up and say, is that kind of a high number, or do you know that for sure? But either way, what we talked about on the show before, Mike, he's not going to be playing all the time. Obviously, he's going to be part of a rotation at that spot. But that's just something that obviously he was excited about. He believed the organization was trending in the right direction. He said, I can bring a lot of violence, which was great to hear. I mean, that's what you want to hear from your big-ass defensive end, right? Yeah, I can bring a lot of violence. He said if Desmond can be who he thinks he can be, he would not be surprised to see us playing in January and February, which is super damn high praise considering the 4 games Desmond played. That's great. I mean, you don't want him to come in and say, man, I'm really not sure about this Desmond kid, but we're going to do the best we can. And he's going to, of course, he's going to say that type of stuff. But I mean, I honestly believe him again. Like, I don't think he's just blowing smoke, because I think he has looked at the team. He has looked at what we've done in the offseason. He knows the draft's coming up. And he alluded to playing against Arthur when he was at Jacksonville. And he said that was one of the tougher offenses for them to scheme against, because of how he ran his offense. So that's good praise toward Arthur as well. And the last few things, man, like I said, I'll wind this up and let you guys talk, because like I said, I had to go through like pages of notes here while I was he said, Atlanta's building something, and the question is just how long was it going to take? And he felt like we could really do something this year. That was his opinion. We could really do something this year. He said he's excited about bringing his leadership skills. They asked him about the pass rush. He said, honestly, it starts with Ryan Nielsen's game plan, but knowing what he did in New Orleans, he's great at scheming up the rush. It starts with Grady. A lot of young guys like Ebiketie, Malone that can get to the passer. So obviously that's important. They asked him about how he's been so successful at this late in his career, and he said, man, pretty much God, because he's like, I've been healthy. And that's been just one of those things. Like, I've had x-rays and people told my knees look like I'm a rookie. He's like, so that's just something you can't really explain. I've just been blessed to be healthy throughout my career for the most part. And the work ethic. He said he went and hired nothing but the best of the best when it came to his body specialist. So he didn't cut any corners. He went and found the guys that are going to keep him in shape, nutrition wise, everything, So I found it interesting. He said Bruce Smith was one of his mentors. Bruce played 19 years in the league, and I was one of my favorite pass rushers growing up watching. And he said big thing about Nielsen is he's process driven. He's a brilliant mind, going to put going to put the work in and a great communicator, which he thought was all important coming in on being a new coordinator. And he said he thought, obviously, being new to the system and a lot of players being new to the system, there would be a little bit of time it takes. He's like, so don't expect it to be just clicking like from the get. He said he expected us to be playing our best ball later in the season, because which obviously is more important if we're actually making a playoff run. That's when you want to be playing your best ball. And he believed that with the run game and a solid defense, you can go pretty far in the playoffs. So, and he did talk about how the division was there for the taking, how the NFC is kind of just you win and get in and see what happens. And lastly, he said his first impressions of Arthur Smith and Terry Fontenot was super high. He said originally Atlanta was not on his list as a free agent landing spot. He said Arthur made the phone call, was just trying to get a visit, and he said he sold me on it, so I came in and visited. And then from there, he said they sold me. That was it. He was like, it just felt right from there. And he said, just feel like he's where he's supposed to be. So, Xavier, buddy, open up to you, man. What's your thoughts on this whole what he said and just kind of outlook on what he's going to bring to the team?
Look, this front office continues to cook in ways that we didn't that I don't know if everybody expected this offseason, right? Obviously, you expected them to cook with the money. They did that. They made the splashes. But it's been the things that a lot of the players have come in and said. And Calais is one of those guys who doesn't mince his words, is extremely honest. And if he had anything negative to say, I think he would have said it. And I think, when you're looking at a guy who's been in the league as long as he had, he's seen it all. One of the number one things that I loved about his career path was he played with a similarly young team in Jacksonville that kind of had to figure its way out. You remember some of the cast of characters on that roster with Jalen Ramsey and company. I think, him being a part of that kind of locker room, just, he's going to pour into so many of the guys on his team, right? I can already see not only the guys on the D-line that we may be getting the draft, as we'll talk later, or, the guys who are already there, like a Taquan Graham, but what he'll just do for like a Troy Anderson, right? Just being there, helping him understand the gap fills, helping him understand, what he's trying to do on the defensive line to make his life easier as a linebacker, and things of that nature. I could just, and obviously with him being a Walter Payton Man of the Year, what he's going to do in the community, right? Obviously Atlanta's community is extremely tight-knit, and I think, what he's going to be able to do here, and knowing that was one of the reasons as to why he came is extremely important for me. And I think that he's going to be such a good guy in the locker room and going to be such a good guy on the field. You think about he's almost 38, if not 38, but still had 4.5 or 5 sacks last year. Still extremely productive. One of the things he said in the press conference is that he thinks he has a lot of years left. I think this is a man who thinks he can play till 40. Whether that it happens, right? But I think this is a guy who looks at this team and goes, I can be here for another couple years. I know the 1-year deal is cool, but I don't mind seeing Calais next year if he's extremely productive this season. You can never have enough talent at this level, and I think he's a guy who brings in a bountiful amount of talent, if not just in the pass rushing, but obviously in the run game. Calais is a beast. He's a freakish of a human being, 6'8", 300 plus. You hear him talk, you see him walk, it's a scary individual every time he steps on the field. He might be somebody who have to go get a custom jersey made for, to be perfectly honest with you. He's just got to be one of those guys that, when Arthur Smith came in here and Terry Fontenot came in here, they talked about changing the culture. That's a culture change. That's one of the kind of guys, one of the things Art has talked about his entire time here is what? I want to get more physical. I want to get more violent. I'm tired of the soft era of the Falcons. That's the kind of signing that makes that, permanent, right? That brings in that kind of wave of players that when you come to the locker room, when you come to those doors, put your hard hat on. Whether we're practicing, whether it's preseason, whether it's a game day, get ready to go. And lastly, I want to be a fly on the wall in Grady Jarrett's home over the last 3 weeks.
Oh, man.
I just want him to be able, whether it's from text messages, phone calls, him reading the notifications on his Twitter account. I just want to see the smile across his face, because that's a guy who for the last, 4 or 5 years, as this roster has kind of had to be rebuilt from the ground up, has been just a warrior for us every single time. And you can hear it in his voice. He, in that last press conference at the end of the year where he was like, we were that close. But that's what the league is. You can just hear that he's so hungry. He wants to be in the playoffs again. He wants to be able to be productive on a higher level again. And we have done nothing but help him out the entire offseason. Like, I know he's like, I got Onyemata. Eddie Goldman came out of retirement for me. Calais Campbell now added. We ain't even got to the draft yet. And there's some guys in free agency that I think the Falcons are at least keeping tabs on to see if they can get him on a cheaper deal after the draft is over. So I know he's just like, I know that grin on his face for a Georgia boy who probably wants nothing more than to help the Falcons succeed. Is just loving life right now with the guys who are going to be next to him this season.
100%, man. Mike?
I agree with him. I'm gonna say this. I think that his benefit, he's a little bit older, but of course still talented on the field. But his greatest benefit will be the extension of the coach on the field.
Absolutely.
He's to be a coach on the field. The whole team. I don't know if our team is like the youngest, but we could be like the next to, or like the actual youngest in the league. And we need coaches on the field, like you said, to help Troy out, to help you understand what you got, to help you understand how you made a mistake, or to calm yourself down. I think he's gonna do wonders for the coach on the field, and I think the man is still supremely talented at his age. It's a win-win. And of course, I just feel like this: if you come to Atlanta and you hang out, it's not a lot of people that be like, I ain't trying to go play there. If you just come to Atlanta and you experience it for 2 days or for like a weekend, you gonna want to live here and have a house here and strip clubs and Waffle House, and you gonna want to do all that. It's Atlanta.
Look, I couldn't agree more with you. I think there's been this whole thing with Atlanta doesn't get free agents. We ain't never had an opportunity to.
Yeah, we never had an opportunity.
We never had an opportunity. We never had the money. But every free agent we've ever brought in our history always talks about
Atlanta.
Always talks about either owning a house or bought a house to rent out. They have some kind of stakehold here in the city. And so whether it's John Abraham or Michael Turner, all of them still come around. You can still see them outside, what I'm saying, if you're just out enough. And so I think it's a misnomer to say that, we're not a free agent destination just because of people not knowing what Atlanta has. And I'm like, that's not the case. Oh, and to answer your question, we were the 6th youngest team in the NFL last year. Now I know we got a little bit older with Calais and Onyemata. I know we got a little bit older there. Obviously, both of them being 30 plus. But I still think you add in the draftees, we'll probably still be one of the top,
one of the youngest
teams in the league going into next year.
And people dog on Arthur, man, but like I think he's that type of coach where coming from DQ, where DQ was always the hype man, always the smile, and I have no doubt that his players loved him because he was just, he was that type of guy.
Oh, they loved him.
But, But with Art, man, it's different. It's like they still like him, but there's a definite boundary of respect there. That like we talked about it briefly before the show, like the guys that are coming through the door, they know like real quick what their expectations are.
Absolutely.
And if it's not met, then you're not hanging around very long. Not here. We all thought, and Xavier, you probably did too. Like we all thought the Brian Edwards signing was going to be great.
Yep.
And dude, it didn't happen. And then we don't know what happened with Anthony Rush, but we thought like, that's all of a sudden that he was just gone. You know what I mean?
But what's been a real kind of, even though it hasn't necessarily panned out for these two players, how they've both been treated since Art got here, I think tells you everything you need to know. Marlon Davidson, we thought he was going to be a stud, but he could just never get his head wrapped around it. He was gone. They didn't waste any time. He thought
you was Marlon Davidson.
I ain't got the earring hanging down.
Damn,
dude, Marlon got like 150 pounds on you too.
Yeah, right, exactly. Like I'm good. I wish I had Marlon's height though.
Man.
But I think Marlon was gone. But I think the reason why was he didn't ever care about the off the field. Right? Came into camp overweight, can never stay healthy because of that. And then the way that Art once again has handled the Jalen Mayfield situation. That was one of their first draft picks.
Yep.
If Jalen don't get it together this year, he gone. And I think that tells you everything you need to know. That they have they're not sitting on their hands and being like, well, we just hope our 3rd round and our 2nd round picks works. Like, we'll just play the guys who we think want to be here. And if you don't want to be here, you can get gone too. And I really love that mentality. And I know it's rubbed some of my fellow media members the wrong way, but I kind of like it.
I do too.
I kind of like it. For a long time, those media members were just able to just kind of hang out and chill out. There's a little too buddy up at Flowery Branch. It's not buddy no more. Art is very quick to be like, look, y'all wrote us off. We don't care about y'all. Press conference over. Have a good day.
Yeah.
See ya. So
yeah. I mean, you can tell how much he cares, and like that's the thing. I mean, we've had our issues with some of the play calling and stuff like that at different points of both seasons. But we said on the show multiple times, like, he is a first-time head coach, so there's going to be some growing pains with that. I'm kind of glad that it happened. Not necessarily we've had to have 2 7-win seasons, but with our salary cap situation, that's kind of what it was going to be, regardless of who our coach was. Like, there was no coach was going to come in and just transform what we had, on a McDonald's budget. This wasn't going to happen.
Yeah.
So to see him kind of take his lumps and bumps along the road as well makes me hope that, okay, because I think he does a lot of self-scouting himself. Like, he can look back at games and go like, yeah, I probably shouldn't have called that, or I'm gonna do this differently next time. Like, I was worried the first game of the season against the Saints when we lost. I was like, dude, did you not learn shit from last year? Because this looks just like last year. But then throughout the season, for the most part, stuff got corrected, and then it basically came down to just a lack of talent on our end, that we just couldn't finish off games. But with the talent, man, I think, that's just his type of mentality. That's football, though. Like, that's the mentality you want. That's what players who love the game, that's where they want to come play. So, man, I just think if we can have a season like we all think we can have, and we're going to have a good free agents little pot to spend next year too.
Got anywhere from $80 to $100 million, depending on who we extend
exactly
this offseason.
So I mean, yeah, we could have a couple of years.
Man, this our window, man. This our window. Look, y'all don't let me down.
And I was looking at just some of the names, and I was just having a little fun in Twitter Spaces the other day. But if we're going to talk about the draft, and if we don't necessarily get an edge rush, I'm gonna say 2 names that could be in next year's free agent class. Could be. This is obviously a dream of mine. But Nick Bosa, Chase Young, both could be in next year's free agent class. I'm just saying. Look, we got the money, might as well. But quickly, one thing about Art that I loved when we hired him as our coach, a snippet that I found about kind of his upbringing. Well, his dad is,
Mr. FedEx,
right? And he could have walked into the Redskins organization, the Redskins at the time, and just got a job because his daddy owned the team, right? Instead, he chose to leave and go work at the bottom. He chose to go work at the absolute bottom as a video analyst, as a scout, and then worked his way up. And that, for me, it showed me some things about the guy's character. Like, your daddy, you could have walked into the Redskins organization and be like, look, my dad owns the team. I can work wherever I want to in this organization. Y'all can't tell me anything. But to leave and go work for an organization that nobody cares who your daddy is showed me kind of a lot about his character and kind of, like you said, the self-scouting that he wanted to do at a young age and what he hopefully continues to do as our head coach.
100%, man. 100%. Real quick, ATL Georgia Faithful said, how much of a role do y'all think Hawkins will still have?
That all depends on the draft, man. I hate that he's one of those guys that's going to be kind of solely dependent on the draft. But in one of these trade back scenarios, if we take a safety, his days as a starter are going to be, his time as a starter is going to be extremely diminished. It's just going to be, I love Hawkins for what he has been, but I also don't want us to get kind of in the DeMonte KZ situation where he's now the only guy that we have that can play in that certain role. But yeah, he's going to be one of those guys who I think the Falcons may look to upgrade the position in the draft and might have to just be one of those all balls out. But if not, if he is, he's still going to be one of the best special teamers on this team. So don't, his position might change. His impact could still be as big. Yeah.
Well said. Well said. He said, did y'all hear Calais interview on 92? I did not. Did you hear that today or whenever it was?
I did not. Let me be. Yeah. I
didn't either. Yeah. I watched the press conference.
Yeah. I was like, that was enough for me.
Yeah. What's going on, Kenny? Good to see you, bud. He said, what up, Big Mike, Magic Mike, the XMan Xavier.
That's hilarious.
Great show, man. Case I almost shed a tear when he said he was going to bring violence to our D-line, right?
Yeah.
I replayed it. I was like, I want to hear that one more time because it sounded so beautiful. It's time to carry. Jordan said the Calais signing has me really hyped for this season, man. We nailed these draft picks also. Yeah, that's going to be the question, man. And he said, Bubba said it's still a menace on the D-line at his age.
Really
absolutely
talented.
Yeah. And Kenner said, I definitely hope he brings some aggressiveness to our team. We need that. Absolutely. I mean, just thinking of the combinations we could have on that line is just a magical thing, man.
Guys, I was thinking about that jumbo package the other day on goal line.
Right.
I was like, you're going to have Goldman, Grady, Onyemata, and Calais. Find a gap. Figure it out. That's not my job.
Yeah, man. Kenny said X. I agree, 100%. The happiest player on our team is Big
Yeah,
Grady. He
he
played
is.
hard with no help. Now he's about to ball out. And that's the thing, man. I mean, like team's gonna have to make a decision now. I mean, are we gonna have to double Grady? We're gonna have to double Animata, we're gonna have to double Campbell. I mean, what are we doing? We're gonna chip somebody. I mean, that's gonna change the entire outlook of
Man, when Grady getting them one-on-ones, man, it's like Julio Jones when he was getting them one-on-ones. It's an automatic. I'm throwing it to you. Like it's no contest. She said one thing about Mike, he gonna find a way to show every episode. You don't understand what my life is. I love them. I love them. Feed the children. No, feed the strippers.
Hilarious, man. And chat, y'all keep it going, man. We're gonna start getting into the draft now because Ty's got a great thing here for Xavier and just in general what we got going on. So let me get back to that. Where was it? Ty, where'd you go? Xavier, I've heard many of E-Rob spaces. Can you tell people why Bijan needs to be the pick at 8 or trade back with in good with either? Or I'm good with either. Some people out there still saying he like every other running back.
All right, so let's go ahead and answer these questions because I think me, E-Rob, and a couple of other guys in the Falcons Twitter space has done a really excellent job of getting people around the Bijan hype. I think a month ago we were all told to go find a hole. But now I think people are coming around to the idea of it. I think when you look at Bijan at 8, what you're looking at with Bijan, and I put this out last night, kind of went under the radar. If you take Bijan at 8, cap hit wise, he's about $4 million. To give you an idea of the running backs that are making $4 million this year, just to see, the kind of caliber that he would be around. You're talking about guys like Jamal Williams, right? You're talking about guys who have, Alexander Madison, nowhere near the talent that Bijan is. So I understand where people talk about value, but the one thing we're talking about value, we're talking about money, right? That's bang for your buck. If you ask me, a kid who had 105 broken tackles last year. I mean, he is an excellent runner. He's an excellent pass catcher. He's got a couple of one-handed grabs at Texas that I think most of our receivers would be like, yeah. Like the kid is just, I mean, look, I don't mind that comparison at all. And to be perfectly honest with you, I think he might be a little bit more physically talented than Edgerrin.
I kind of thought the same thing, yeah. And for those listening on iTunes, Spotify, PFF did a little comp thing, and they basically comped him to Edgerrin James. But I'll go ahead, Xavier.
No. I think Edgerrin James is cool. I know I don't want to get caught up in the Saquon kind of comparisons, but that's what he reminds me of. When you watch him on tape, you just look at a guy who can take a 5-yard play to 50 yards with a step, and realistically, I think running back, I think we maybe feel a little bit too comfortable at the running back position right now. You guys got to remember, Algier, as great as he is, our running back room is kind of shallow right now. We don't know what Huntley's going to look like off of that off of that injury. CP, Cordero's not getting any younger, and the older he gets, the less and less I want to use him as an every down back. And if we can add a guy that just opens up the offense, like he would do, at the end of the day, remember Derrick Henry ran for 2,000 yards and had 378 attempts. He also had like 60 catches. So it's not like Art isn't going to use him in the passing game. He's going to be just a running back. But if you have Algier in the backfield and you can flex Bijan out, good luck. Good luck. Like I said, like I say to spaces, like I say, play Madden in your head for 2 seconds. Imagine you stack Kyle Pitts, Drake London, and Bijan Robinson on the outside. Which one you guard? And which one you leaving on a linebacker to go eat on? Because whomever's left on the linebacker is going to feast. And so, don't think of him as just a running back. Think of him as a guy, as an offensive weapon, which is kind of how we had to think about Kyle Pitts when he was taken at 4. He's not just a tight end. He was an offensive weapon. And that's exactly how I think about Bijan Robinson.
Yeah. I mean, I on the last show. So I mean, initially going into the draft thing, I wasn't a Bijan at 8 guy. Like I was like, I'm cool with him later on, but like I still wanted to go either corner really because I mean, and we can talk about the edges. I mean, there wasn't an edge this year outside of Anderson that we're in line to possibly get. That just blew me away. Like I turned on the film and I was just like, damn, like we got to have that guy. There wasn't that guy there, but corners. And also, I mean, the corners are very deep this year too. We could still get a legitimate starting corner probably in the second round still. But the more I watched Bijan, I watched him a few games like just during the season. But then I actually went and looked at film, looked at multiple games. It's a different cat, man. Like I was trying to go back and look at how I'll rate these guys. Saquon comes up a lot. I'll be honest. I think he's better than Saquon. And I could take it back to AP. Like he's probably the best running back prospect I've seen since Adrian Peterson.
Now that's saying something, John.
Because I've been sending Mike clips so he can kind of see. I mean, like the vision he has is elite. I mean, the ball catching ability is elite. Everything he does really is. There's not really a weakness in his game. So yeah, and like you just said, Xavier. I mean, you think about what we could do with the packages we could have, I would totally understand it if they do that. Like I'm kind of at the point now, like, and even like Ev said a few weeks on the show, like, I don't think there's a pick that could really piss me off that much at 8 right now. Well, what is that for you?
Skoronski.
Same here. Yeah, same here. I can't. Well, regardless, I can't pick a guard at 8 regardless. To me, like that, just like positional value. People say that about running backs too, but I just think that you look at what a running back like Edgerrin James did for Indianapolis. You look at what Saquon did for the Giants this year. Like, those are guys who can legitimately push you over the edge. Those are game-changing type, like season-changing type of guys. So, and I love Algier to death. Like, he was my guy. Like, he was the one guy I predicted in the draft. I loved him from the get-go. Like, I was like, I think this would be a great fit for us. But that's going to save his legs. That's going to, there's a lot of benefits to it. So like, I've totally did a 180. Like I've came around to it completely, to where like, if that's how they want to go, that's cool. I don't know. I've seen some projections that say if he is there, he's not getting past Philly at 10, which him and Philly scares the shit out of me too. Like, I don't want to see that at all.
And that's the other piece. You keep him away from a team. If you're going to compete for a championship, Philly's going to be there. Like, just call it what it is. For the next 4 to 5 years, Philly's going to be there. Do you want to have to see him in the playoffs, or do you want to have him in the Because at the end of the day, he's gonna be there, man. Philly's taking him in 10. If
right?
He's
how do you not? Because in the way Philly drafts, Philly's always, at least recently, has drafted BPA for sure. They don't really reach for nobody. They'll get whatever they think's the best talent that can help out their team, and if it's not, and they'll move players around based on that. So I don't think he's getting past them. So that's. When we were going to talk about the trade back scenario. So if we trade back, it's not far. It's like, if we want to get him, it's 1 or 2 spots max. Right. And if Philly's got the idea of taking him, they sure should. They're not going to trade with us for it. So, we'll have to be, folks will have to, and I said on the show too, look, I get the idea of the positional value of the running backs. And I understand like how that's kind of went down over the years, but if you have not watched the film, do yourself a favor and go watch it, because it might change your mind a little bit once you see the film. He's just different. That's just all I can say. He's just different. Victor said, no Quentin Johnson, Xavier.
We'll get to that conversation if we get to that. That's the first take this offseason. I've genuinely had like nobody with me. Like, even with the Bijan stuff, I was like, I had like the occasional guy that was like, we run the ball a lot. But as soon as I was like Quentin Johnston at like 18, the entirety of Falcons Twitter was like, come and get him. All right, you've had your time, son. I was getting the Apollo hook. They were like, all right, come and get him.
Oh, yeah. Exactly. Every season said, what's up, y'all? I'm in late by another show. Hey, man, appreciate you showing up, man.
Better late than never, buddy.
And he said, I'm surely into Bijan at 8. We need playmakers. Yeah, man. Bubba said, I was definitely against it right away, but I've changed my mind listening on Twitter Spaces in the past couple of weeks. Yeah, you come around, man. It just makes sense. It really does. And he said, every season, said that Madden analogy sold me even more. So, Victor says Xavier is the official salesman of Bijan. There's a few, buddy. There's a few.
Yeah.
I know. Ty's like right behind you as far as the salesman goes. He said we also run the ball more than any other team. Tyler and Bijan for 3 quarters, pounding you down. You throw a fresh CP in the 4th, finish you off. Like, come on.
Thank you, Ty.
It will allow Desmond to make more higher percentage. We didn't talk about that. We didn't talk about that. How much that will allow Desmond to kind of not relax, but he's got like a little bit of an outlet there. You've got that.
You give him a back that if you run, and Art schemed this a lot. Mariota didn't throw this a lot, but Algier was a consistent safety valve for both quarterbacks last year, and he schemes this out a lot. Especially in a lot of his pass plays, you just see Algier kind of standing there. I could probably put together a compilation of Algier just kind of standing there at 5-6 yards. And I can only imagine, Desmond, who's a guy in college, Jerome Ford, I think was his running back in Cincinnati. Used him a lot. Used him a ton. And to imagine, look, throw. It's something that makes the life. And I know Desmond's going into year 2. I'm gonna call him a rookie because at the end of the day, until he reaches game 17, he hasn't played a full season yet. Or in his case, game 13 for him next year. So until he reaches that that total, I'm gonna call him a rook. And giving rookies talent out of the backfield goes a long way. Shout out to Joe Burrow. Joe Mixon has helped him out tremendously in his time in Cincinnati. So if you don't think Bijan would aid in the passing game, like you said, go watch the tape, grind the tape, people. Grind it.
Yeah, Ty said there's a YouTube video out there that has every snap that Bijan takes, not just highlights, every snap, and you'll still walk away wanting him, I promise. Chris, I'm fully prepared for us to take Bijan at 8 now. I will not be surprised at all with Terry's BPA approach. Tight end at 4, last draft wanting defense, and we went wide receiver at 8. Yeah. I mean, that's exactly. Miss Pam said BJ is my pick at 8. Yeah. I mean, it's funny, man. It's catching fire, man. It really is. It's growing a little bit. And and then you look at the other options. All right. So Mike and I, we've talked about it. We talked about it on the show a lot. Obviously the corner position with Gonzalez and Witherspoon being the 2 main guys. Witherspoon had his pro day today. I think he ran a 4.4 or something like that. So yeah, I mean, like you instantly upgrade your secondary there without a doubt. You are, like I said, that wouldn't make me mad. I understand. Like I said, I could get it either way. I'm not going to be mad either way. My selfishness and my desire to see an insanely stupid offense wants Bijan. But I would get it if you take Gonzalez, because he does seem like kind of a can't miss guy. It's similar to Witherspoon. I mean, like Gonzalez is just a bigger guy. Watching him work, man, it's just so smooth. It's effortless for him. But this looks like he's just floating out there. Like he can flip his hips. He can run. Yeah. He can do anything you want him to do. He can do. That type of guy. So what do you think in your heart, man, Xavier? Do you think we're staying at 8? Do you think he will trade back? I don't think the trade up thing that would surprise me a lot if they trade up.
The trade up stuff I'd never bought just because I didn't think that there was a guy that they would even want to trade up for.
Right.
To be honest with you. Unless you're trading up for Will, there ain't no reason to trade up at this point. I think with everything that's going on, sitting at 8's perfect spot. I will say the trade back has started to kind of creep into my mind a little bit. I mean, and not only just because of, the position, what we might be able to get at 8 from a trade, but I think the Falcons, especially with the visits that they've made over the last 2 or 3 weeks, has given me an idea that this team may be looking at the trade back value. You brought in, obviously I know people don't like it, but you brought in Johnston. You brought in, Adebawore out of Northwestern. You brought in, you met with Osiris Torrance at his pro day and then brought him in as well. All of those guys are guys you are mocking between like 18 and 27 or, or 16 and 25. And so I think, for one, I think Terry's looking at, because I think what Terry's really looking at is that early second round, that early to mid second round where I think there's a ton of dudes who have huge upside, but maybe have 1 or 2 things that they don't like. Emmanuel Forbes is one of the guys, right? Extremely good cover corner. Just light. I mean, you play at 161 in college, you're going to get a lot of red flags there if you can play in the league. But once again, extremely good cover guy. Will McDonald, another one. Edge rusher out of Iowa State. Freakish kid, just hasn't put it together as far as, his full pass rush, right? But you have a guy like Nielsen. You might think that he's a guy who can obviously be somebody for you. And then even though they haven't yet, I got this strange suspicion that Art's like, look, I need a left guard. I don't care what you tell me. I need a left guard / center. And you're looking at guys like John Michael Schmitz, who I want so bad.
We drafted him in our first mock
draft.
drafts.
Man, that kid's a dog. I saw him at the Senior Bowl. Man, he's a stud. And I just think that one of the biggest issues we had last year was that center. Yeah. I think we can get away with. I think we can get away with below average left guard play. But our quarterbacks having to grab the ball at their ankles, 40 times, 40% of the game. It's just inexcusable, right? Yeah. It's just inexcusable, especially with the offense that is so important with timing. You can't have guys bending over to pick up the ball, And so I think getting a guy who you can partner with a young quarterback, right? You hear Peyton Manning talk about all the time. The biggest thing that helped him out was Jeff Saturday coming in. And so getting a center to partner with a young QB just matches every single time. It works. And they end up playing together for their entire career. That's the one thing Matt never had. Was a center that he could just kind of lean on to get everybody else in line when he was having to get the receivers in line, to get the line, to get the offensive line in line. So I'm starting to get more, warm to the idea that the Falcons might trade back. But to answer your question, Witherspoon and Gonzalez, it's kind of what do you like more?
Yeah.
Witherspoon is going to come down and crack everybody he sees.
Mm-hmm.
He reminds me a lot more of AJ. The kid will put his body on the line to take out a fullback if he has to, right? Christian Gonzalez, smooth operator. That's what I call him. That's what he looks like. He if you're teaching a young corner how to play the position, he's it. Flips his hips well, reads the coverage well. But my biggest question with him is, you're gonna come down and make a hit if you need to.
Right.
He has the size to do it, but just because you got the size don't mean you want to, right? There's a lot of big dudes who big and soft. So that's the only question with him. And the biggest question with corner for me at 8 is you're taking CB2.
Right.
So you can have one of the best secondaries in football if you end up taking either one, in my opinion. But what is the value to the Falcons there taking CB2 versus if we were taking if we didn't have an AJ, corner would be penciled in, I think, on everybody's draft board.
Yeah.
Because we have an AJ, and even to an extent because we have Casey, how important is it to the Falcons to take cornerback at number 8?
And that was my other, Mike, I'm gonna get your opinion in a second, buddy. That was my other thought too, is what we said before, or I said before, the corner position being so deep this year, and the fact that Casey hasn't been cut yet makes you think that, okay, maybe we're going to ride with Casey and we're going to draft a guy later on that could be maybe a Deontay Banks from Maryland, that type of guy. I mean, I watched a lot of film on him. I think Mike watched some stuff on Deontay too. Yeah, no, that was your guy. Yeah, you watched Deontay. Yeah. So there's guys that can come in and fit that role.
I like Ringo, man.
Yeah, you like Ringo too. Yeah. So I mean, like there's a lot of depth there that you can say if we trade back, you pick up, say, a Bijan, who knows what, and then you've still got the option to go with, you want to go edge, that's fine. Getting Calais, I don't know, I think somebody had said something, let me find, Jordan said another thing that stood out with me, that Calais also said he would play mostly edge. I think it's getting down to the top, CB or Bijan for us. Yeah, I mean,
I wouldn't sell that too much. And the only reason why I say that is because Nielsen is a D-line guy.
Right.
And Nielsen's going to want to kind of have his piece, right? Like I know coordinators don't necessarily get to pick whoever they want, right? But if you're gonna go get a guy who swore up and down he's one of the best, developmental guys at the D-line position in football, he's gonna want his jewel in the crown. Like he's gonna want to be, the Saints did it, right? They went out and got Marcus Davenport for him, even though injuries have really kind of killed his career. That was kind of the jewel in the crown for him. Like that's who he wanted. That's who they went out and got. And I think the Falcons I could see them going if he has a guy, whether that is Wilson or Jalen Carter, all guys who I think who could be there at 8. He might be like, look, I want that kid because if I can just get my hands on him, I'm gonna turn him into an all pro. And if he can convince Art and Terry, then I don't see why I don't see the Falcons necessarily moving out of 8 if one of those guys drops, especially if it's Jalen Carter, who I think right now the Falcons are being really hush on. I think they want him bad. I think they want him really bad. So yeah.
Yeah, we're gonna get to that one in a second. Mike, what
So here's a question I have for y'all that it's gonna be a good one. If you can only pick between 3 players, if like the Falcons call you personally and say, man, we in here talking and we came to a standstill, 3 players, and they gonna call Johnny Yates and they calling the XMan and they say Jalen Carter, Gonzalez, or Bijan. These are the players we choose, and we will pick an 8. We're not trading back. We will pick an 8. We want one of these players, but we all tied in this room. It's 2. We all tied in this room. So I'm calling the X-Man. I'm calling Johnny Yates to break the tie. Who are you picking?
Go ahead, Xavier.
Jalen.
He said that quick.
Yeah, he's got, I am a Georgia fan, so I'm not gonna say there's even biases there, but I've watched every snap of that kid for the last 3 years. And I think when you look at him, there's 2 things that tell me that we can take him right away and he projects in the way that I want him to. 1, he'd be around nothing but vets. He'd be insulated. So all the off the field stuff, that maybe teams that don't have the veteran presence may worry about. You've got not one but two Walter Player Man of the Years on that front four. Not to mention you've got Onyemata. Not to mention, and this is a very sleeper. Eddie Goldman is a guy who slipped in the draft, due to some concerns about his, about his stamina, his size, his weight, whether he could keep it off in the pros. And all of those guys could teach him how to be a professional, right? Could teach him how to be a pro's pro. Secondarily, you get that kid in, and if he can really lock in, he's an all-pro by year 2, year 3. Yeah. Like I'm genuine. Like he is a 6'4", 300-pound kid who has pass rush from the inside. Well, who dominated football from the inside since he stepped on the field? Aaron Donald. Like and that's the biggest thing with Jalen Carter and taking an edge or taking a guy at 8 is love Onyemata, love Grady, love Calais. All of them are over 30. We're gonna have that next chain of guys to come in whenever that may be. That may not be for the next 2 seasons, and that's great. But when it's his time to, and whether or not he takes that spot or not, when it's his time to just be the guy on that defensive line, we're gonna need somebody to build around. And if you can tell me that him and Ebiketie are my 2 horses for the next 5, 6, 7 years, we extend both of them out, then yeah, I'll take that over a corner and a running back. I think, as Falcons fans, the one thing we've never had is a pass rush. If you could tell me for the next 7 years of my life we have a pass rush, sign me up. Like, yeah. So I think Carter is the guy I would definitely take there.
Johnny Yates.
Yeah, 100% agree. Yeah, and you talk to any quarterback and you ask them what do you hate the most, and they will tell you pressure up the middle. Because they're off their spot immediately, and it disrupts everything they have going on, and that's why Aaron Donald's so successful, man. And that's what everything you said about having Calais there and Grady there and Onyemata there and Goldman there, the culture that the coaches set around the team, like, and this is what, and we're going to do underrated, overrated later. I'll do a quick underrated right now. The interview process for the teams that they go through, severely underrated, because we don't know what all goes on in those conversations. But I can tell you this: they're going to commit millions of dollars to a pick. They're going to do the deepest dives that you can possibly do on a kid. Yeah. So if he's taken or if he's not, you can guarantee that there's a reason for both of those. That they either feel comfortable enough that they say, okay, yeah, you know what, this was a kid, he made a bad mistake, and what we believe that he can move past that. He can be a professional. We can like Xavier said, Nielsen, I can put my hands on him, and he's going to be an all-pro like that. Also, in our offense, yeah, Bijan will be fantastic, but the draft is also pretty deep with running backs. So whether it's Bijan's backup, who I'm a big fan of, Roschon Johnson, later on, or somebody else, with the way Art runs the ball, we don't necessarily need a Bijan. Would it be nice? Of course it would be. But we don't. That offense works. It'll work just fine with Tyler and a very good back as well, like a good compliment to him. Doesn't have to be necessarily Bijan. So yeah, if that's for all those reasons, I'm going Jalen there. And if he is there, I cannot see us passing on him, man.
Neither can I. I know people were scared. I know that Josh Kendall report came out where he was like, I don't see the Falcons taking him, yada, yada.
And I don't know where he pulled that from.
He's walked that back. In the last couple of weeks, he's walked that back so fast. I think there was an interview, if you guys haven't seen it, the Falcons produced. Kerry was talking to Torrey McElhaney. And one of the things he said in that interview that made me think that Jalen was still on their board is he said, look, nobody's perfect. I'm not perfect. But he said, so what kids do off the field, as long as they're self-aware and they're ready to play football, that does, if we can, that's what's most important to me. Like he said, I'm not perfect. Nobody is. And so I think that for me was like, okay, cool. So he sees that even when people have, made mistakes, as long as they're self-aware of the situation and are ready to move past that, then he can be convinced to take a prospect. Not only, and I don't think it'll be that much of a convincing to take a guy who 3 months ago was the number 1 overall pick, consensus from pretty much every national media. So yeah.
Yeah, I mean, Mike said before, I mean, if you put tabs on probably the 3 of us, throughout your high school, college career, you're going to find some spots where you're like, oh, this guy's questionable, but I mean, like it's, you can't.
Man, if I followed your grandmother for a day, I catch her stealing some butterscotch candies or something. something
hard
like
candies,
no
man.
one
Love
is
some
perfect.
Right.
Yeah, no one is perfect, man.
Ty said, even if we don't get Bijan, I'm keeping receipts and people saying we don't need him. So when he's a top 5 back this year, I'm coming for y'all haters.
Which pisses me off because he could be a top 5 back in his first year in that Eagles offense.
He really could.
he
really could.
Yeah, he could be
Ty
top 5
said Paris Johnson had an interview with Bussin with the boys, and the Falcons are one of the 3 teams he said he liked to play for. He even said that he would definitely play guard if we ask him to. That's interesting.
That's extremely interesting because I actually think Paris is a better guard than he is a tackle. I think he struggles with power a little bit too much for me to be a tackle. So I would not at 8 though. Not at 8. I'm sorry.
Yeah, he struggles. Yeah, watching Lucas Van Ness kind of murder him a little bit during that Ohio State game was like, I don't know if I want that from my tackle. Yeah, no, I don't think so. Ty said one thing I love about Gonzalez is definitely hoping he wears 0 so I can buy that jersey. Somebody's going to. Yeah. Somebody's going to be riding 0. Know what it's going to be. George said, yeah, that's a good point. Xavier would love JC if he's there also. Yeah, I mean, it's, he's just – before all that should happen, man, like he's a consensus best player in the draft.
Yeah.
I mean, we were talking about him going to the Bears or, talking him going top 2 or 3. So, I mean, if we're doing, if we're talking about him dropping this far down, then that's, man, yeah, come on. Because like Xavier just laid it out for you, man. We have the infrastructure for that type of guy. And I'm not saying he's that type of guy, but if he is, for that type of guy to turn it around, and to become a good pro. So
it's a Laramie Tunsil situation all over again. Look, Laramie was supposed to go 1, I think slipped to 7. So hey, Jalen, you're supposed to go 1, 2, slip to 8, and you get an all pro who makes a buku amount of money in his career. So
he just got extended, right? Just not sign a new contract, and everybody said the next day, oh, his career's over with. His career's shot. Like, really? No, probably not. He just likes a little bit of weed. That's all.
So I got a question though, but I have one for y'all.
Yeah, man.
Now y'all watch college more than me. What is the I can't call a college player because to me the game is so different that I've seen 200 times the person that everybody's raving about in college saying, oh, trust me, he get in the big boy league and he looked like a little boy. And what I'm asking you is for each of you to pick who's the one player in the draft that unequipped, he's league ready. I mean, he's gonna come right in and make an impact. There's no, he could be, he may be. It's you would bet your house on it. I mean, league ready. I mean, he gonna make an impact on his team off the jump. Who is it?
For us at 8 in particular?
No, I'm talking about in the whole draft. Just who's the guarantee? Not the college. Oh, he might be, he probably be, but who is the guarantee? Like, oh no, I guarantee you, he league ready. He's ready to play with big boys, grown men right now.
Honestly, and this is gonna sound really weird, but it's Bryce Young. I'm gonna be honest with you.
Oh, okay.
That kid for me, and I think when you think about quarterbacks, I've said this a lot. If Bryce was 6'1", there'd be no conversation on who the first quarterback taken.
Zero.
He is the most NFL ready. He is the most talented out of all of them, and at every step in his career, he kind of reminds me a lot of Trevor Lawrence. I got to spend some time around Trevor when he played here. In the state of Georgia and stuff like that. Kind of reminds me of him. Just does all the little things on top of the big stuff. Has the good arm, has the playmaking ability, but has the ability to read the defense. Understand what his weak spots are. This last year with him at Alabama, I want people to remember. Scrap the name. If you could go watch his footage, watch his tape, and there wasn't, the Crimson Tide or the A on his jersey, and you just watch him work, you'd be like, this kid is Houdini. He is the best player in college football. And I think he was. He was playing, and I know Alabama brings in 4 stars and 5 stars. For all things considered, Alabama's team this year was probably the worst offense they've had in the last decade.
Yep.
Not even a question. Receivers, barely above average. Offensive line play, barely above average. And he made them look like a good to great team every single Saturday, even in losses. And so I think when he walks in the league, it would have to be a horrible situation for him to not succeed. He'd have to be in like some type of Jamarcus Russell type situation where they were almost trying to get the kid to fail at some point. Right. But any team he goes into, especially him if he goes to Houston at 2, which I think is what people might expect, and he goes with a guy like DeMeco Ryans, I think you're going to see a kid in the next year or two, like Trevor Lawrence, just continue to ascend.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Bryce Young, John.
Yeah, I mean, well, me being a Bama fan, obviously, I've watched him a ton, and yeah, I mean, I've said it before, his calmness in the pocket, like it stresses me the hell out, like all the time. Like I was like, I mean, I'm freaking out. He's just chilling, like, and bullets are flying by him, and he's just going there making his reads and makes the throws. He throws guys open all the time. His processing is next level. Like he's yeah. I mean, like mentally, he's 100% there. I'm not worried about, and it's not really his height. I don't think people are worried about. It's him taking the hits at his size. I think is what they're worried about. But yeah, I think, dude, and ATL Georgia Faithful said Will Anderson. Yeah, ready. I mean, I've seen the Von Miller comps, which I mean yeah, I can kind of see that too.
If Von Miller was in a Micah Parsons package,
right?
That's what he looks like.
Yeah, I was worried about his weight, and then he showed up at the combine at 255. I was like, oh shit, that's something, because he was 230. Yeah, you don't know, but yeah, 255. If he's still got that same type of, but I will credit Bama though too. They knew how to use him. I mean, you had DJ Dale and Byron Young doing a lot of dirty work for him. And opening and giving him space to come in there and make some of those plays. And not all of them. I mean, he's a very talented dude. Don't get me wrong. You don't put up those type of pressures over 2 years without having a lot of talent. But yeah, I mean, he's up there. I can't really think. I mean, obviously Bijan, we talked about that. What kind of impact he could have.
I'm trying to think of like a guy who
maybe no one says CJ. I'm wondering why.
CJ worries me, and this is the only worry I have about CJ.
Hope Damsky's not listening.
Yeah, right.
Me and Damsky are in the group chat. I've told him this. When you play with that many elite receivers, when you get to the league, if you don't have that, what do you look like? Like all of his receivers are first-round draft picks. Matter of fact, his number one receiver this year might be a top 5 pick next year. Marvin Harrison Jr. is all world. And so when you have that much talent around you, it makes life really easy. And so that's my only concern about him is when that talent drops, right? Let's say he goes to Indy at 4, and you're throwing it to Michael Pittman and Mo Alley Cox, and then the level has just dropped a little bit.
Right.
Are you the same quarterback? Because when I can throw it to arguably the best the best receiver room in college football over the last, 2 to 3 years with Chris Olave last year, right? And Garrett Wilson. Now this year you have Marvin Harrison and Emeka Egbuka and Julian Fleming and all these first-round draft picks. Does that change when those guys aren't as talented? Because if it does, then we might be in trouble coming in the NFL, because it's, top quality receivers are expensive. We can't just have those on every roster.
Yeah.
So, that's my only question with CJ.
Sorry, Damsky. It wasn't me, buddy.
No, I love him. Love that guy. That's my only concern.
Yeah, Victor said Bijan and JSN, Jackson Smith and Jigbar can't miss, in my opinion.
JSN worries me a little bit, but hey, if you like JSN, you love him because of what he projects to be. I haven't seen an NFL comp for him that I like yet. I'll be honest. I keep hearing CeeDee Lamb and stuff like that. I'm not sure about that one yet, but.
Yeah, AGL Georgia Faithful said, Christian Gonzalez. Yeah, I can see both of those guys making instant impacts for sure. Yeah, I agree with that. So real quick, talking about, number one, the edge class. I know we talked about it briefly, but I've watched Tyree. It sucks for him because he's had the foot injury and he couldn't perform at the combine. I don't think he's having a pro day. So basically you're kind of just going off of, I think he's going to do something later on this month before the draft. But I mean, watching him, it's kind of like Miles Murphy, but different. Like, I know Miles is more of an athletic freak, but it just, to me, both of them were kind of just, they would flash, but there was not a ton of consistency. But those two guys, they are what you said about Nielsen, like that. That's the kind of guys I think Nielsen can look at and be like, man, like the tools are there. Especially Tyree, if Tyree gets to us, I can see, and say Jalen's off the board. And and that's the option. I can see him going, okay, yeah, I could make this dude, because there's no, and even Adam Damsky talked about it with us on the pod too. All the pass rushers this year, for the most part, are all kind of projects. Like there's all things they have to work on. They're not going to be just you don't come in and just make an instant 10 sack type of guy. And that's a lot of Falcons fans are going to expect if you're taking a guy at 8, he's going to come in and get you 10 sacks. And so that's not going to be it necessarily. But just talk real quick on the edge, man. What do you say there?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, you're right. Outside of Will, I don't think anybody steps on the field and is an Aiden Hutchinson type performer, right? I don't think anybody gets to that 8.5, 9.5 sack range. But what I will say is I think that this edge class is a lot of projects. You just have to figure out which one you like the most, right? Or which ones, and I've said this a lot about Tyree Wilson, which is why I think he's number one on the Falcons board, is which one has doesn't have as much of a drop off if he doesn't become an elite pass rusher, right? Like, what guy can I see being an elite run stopper, but just can't rush the passer? And that's Tyree Wilson because of his size, right? 6'6", 280 plus, probably, in the event that he doesn't become an elite pass rusher, you might ask him to gain 15 pounds and push him inside, right?
Yep.
And that's why I think Tyree is probably the guy that you think the Falcons might take there if he's available, because what Nielsen had in New Orleans, even when Marcus Davenport couldn't get a sack to save his life, he was still an above average to good run stopper because of his size. And I think that's kind of why Tyree has been thought of as, the number one edge guy in the class or the number two edge guy outside of Wilson, or outside of Will, because of that factor. When you look at the rest of them, you look at a Nolan Smith, you start looking at a Miles Murphy. The concern with me, and maybe I should probably drop this trauma because we've got a different front office and a different coaching staff, but I see Vic Beasley.
I know exactly where, yeah.
I see Vic, right? I see a toolsy, rangy, extremely athletic outside edge rusher who just never gets home, who we've got to do everything in our power to figure out how he works in the offense or in the defense, And I don't want that, once again, maybe I should drop my trauma a little bit there. We've got a completely different front office, got a completely different, coaching staff. Clearly he's going to be playing with a completely different defensive front than Vic ever did. But I think that Nielsen, to what you said, still looks at those guys and goes, I can turn them into monsters.
Yeah.
And I think he would be right. At the end of the day, what I have to think about when I think about those guys is what kind of the Eagles did with Hassan Reddick this year. Hassan Reddick was a monster, double-digit sack guy. But look who's playing next to him. You got Fletcher Cox. You got, Brandon Graham on the other end. You got Derek Barnett when he was healthy. You had Jordan Davis on the inside. You had Javon Hargrave. You had double-digit sacks, but how much of that came because everybody was worried about what was coming inside, and you were just, eating on left tackles who couldn't hold your lunch? Cool, right?
Yep.
But you saw Hassan didn't touch Mahomes in the Super Bowl because Orlando Brown had him for breakfast. That's my thing when it comes to looking at a Nolan Smith or Miles Murphy. I go, yeah, they had a lot of guys do the dirty work for them on the inside, but so were we. So as long as we kind of continue to bring guys in that do that, their production should never drop off.
Yeah, and you just have to trust. You have to trust Nielsen, right? I mean, you have to trust that he's done his homework and he knows which guys he thinks going to project, and he knows which guys he can put his hands on and make a difference with them. So we'll go ahead and get this out of the way and get into receivers.
I saw it too. I was like, here we go. I said, all right, here we go.
All right, so Quentin Johnson.
Okay, all right. Let's go ahead and talk about it. In the event that the Falcons trade back, you're looking at a situation where what you're trading back to is going to be receiver row. I just want people to understand that. You're trading out of elite defensive players if you're trading back far enough. So when I think about a Quentin Johnson pick, you're thinking about picks 16 to 25, that kind of range. Well, you've missed out on probably every single good defensive, high defensive line product. Maybe Brian Breesy falls to you, but realistically, you've probably missed out there. Bijan's probably gone to the Eagles at 10. You've missed out on all the super elite corners. And Christian, Devin Weatherspoon, some people like and maybe a couple, and Joey Porter Jr. probably being picked right around that, with the Steelers being at 17, probably going there, right? Lineage kid with obviously his dad playing there for so long. You're putting yourself in a position where you're probably taking offense, whether that's Quentin Johnston, Osiris Torrance, one of those guys, right? You're probably looking on the offensive side of the football. The one thing the Falcons have not done that I was almost certain was penciled on their free agency list was go get a bona fide wide receiver team. Now, granted, the whole Aaron Rodgers situation drawing out as long as it has probably been one of the reasons why we haven't gotten our guy yet. Because I've been pretty much under the assumption that Corey Davis is walking through the door as soon as he's released by the Jets.
Yeah.
However, Art has no time to wait for that. And he may feel that he needs to, in the event that he can trade back with a team like the Commanders at 16, who's kind of been the guys when I do the PFF draft mock simulator, they always are trying to come up. I don't know what the hell for, but they're always trying to come up. Mm-hmm. So if we move back to 16, or if we move back to, I think, 18 or 19 with the Patriots or something, rather, once again, you're looking at a guy in Quentin Johnson who is exactly what he had in Tennessee. And he is Corey Davis. Now, remember, Tennessee took Corey Davis at 5, so I don't think, that was probably a miss from them in some respects, and Art, and to his credit, kind of fixed his whole bust situation. But he's extremely tall. I mean, he's 6'3", almost 6'4". Mm-hmm. Runs a sub 4.4, has high-end speed. And once again, when I mock Quentin Johnson to the Falcons, you're taking him as wide receiver 2. He's not your wide receiver 1. So him being you're being worried about maybe he's not the 50-50 guy. You got 2 of them already. Maybe he's not the physical, as physical in the run game blocking wise. I would go back and watch a lot of his tape because Kendre Miller is a guy who I have mocked to the Falcons in the later rounds. He was running a lot in the secondary, and that's partially to Quentin Johnson. I just think that and obviously we just met with the kid. You got to think about it. The Falcons are turning over, are not, leaving any stone unturned. And I think Quentin is the guy there that he's going to take the top off the defense. You got to run with him because you're going to watch his 6'3" run by you. I doubt it, right? That's going to open up the door for Drake London underneath. That's going to open up the door for Jonnu Smith and Kyle Pitts. And I understand when people say the Falcons don't throw the football enough to get a wide receiver 2. I think I posted it the other day. The year where Tennessee's offense was absolutely humming, A.J. Brown had 100 targets. Corey Davis had 92. Jonnu Smith had 70. And like I said earlier, Derrick Henry had 65 or had high in the 50s. Mm-hmm. So if you think about that with our team, right? Maybe that's Drake London with 100, Kyle Pitts with 92, Quentin Johnston with 70, and then Tyler Algier with whatever he has. Mm-hmm. That's still going to be extremely impactful because that year, Jonnu Smith had 8 touchdowns with those targets, right? So at the end of the day, I understand people's concern with Johnston. Obviously, he's fallen in the draft pecking order as I think the combine has gone on in the pre-draft workouts. Mm-hmm. But this is still an extremely talented kid. And I don't think you can have enough talent around you on the outside, especially when you're bringing in a quarterback like Desmond Ridder, a young quarterback. You give him as much talent as you can, and you say, look, if you fail, it's because you failed. It's not because we didn't put the talent around you. You never want to be in a Lamar Jackson situation where you're just looking around. You're like, all right, Houdini, go out there and, throw to Mark Andrews and whomever else has a jersey on, right? Whereas I think, you look at Quentin Johnson, he has the tools to be an elite playmaker in the NFL. If he does that, is on him, but he has all the tools to do so. And I think the Falcons see that. And he just fits that Falcons mold. The Falcons don't like small receivers. Keep trying to tell you that. I know we got Scotty Miller. Yeah. We also have in 2 off seasons have gotten Bryan Edwards, Alden Tate, and Matt Collins. What does that tell you? We do not like tiny guys unless they do one thing good, and that means they run fast. That means in the event that he has a guy who Quentin Johnson is really the only big receiver that you're probably taking that early, then he's gonna go take him. It makes too much sense from Art. And like I said, because the Corey Davis situation playing out the way it has, I feel like they're almost creating a safety valve in the event that the Jets. Who knows? The Jets might just say, "F it, we're gonna hold on to Corey Davis." Like you just never know because that situation hasn't unfolded yet.
Yeah, and it can be if you watch, and I can see that scenario in a trade back type that scenario. I can see that.
Yeah. Definitely not an 8. I just no,
hell no,
hell no, nowhere near 8. No. He's been mocked. He was mocked to us early in like January, February at 8, and I was like, go back to the drawing board. All you national let's go back to the drawing board.
And if you watch him, you'll have a little bit more appreciation too, considering some of the balls from Max Duggan were not great on a lot of occasions. So I mean, like that's another thing on him. Ty said Jaden Reed or Tyler Scott. I like Jaden Reed. But Tyler Scott's got that connection, right?
I was gonna say Tyler Scott. I was like Tyler Scott might get drafted because of his connection with Ridder, but I like Jaden Reed more. Jaden Reed reminds me a lot. He's like AJ Brown light. And what I mean by that is AJ Brown's not the biggest receiver, but plays really big. Jaden Reed is kind of the same way. He's about 5'11", 6 foot, but plays like he's 6'2", 6'3".
Yeah,
he plays really big, even though he's not that big.
Yeah, that's a good call. And what's up, Ant? He said, "What's up, fellas? Didn't know y'all was on tonight. Yeah, man. Every Wednesday's normally 7, unless we have to change it. Yeah." And he said, Victor said, JSN is better than
will be
Xavier.
Gone. He will be gone.
He probably will be gone. Yeah.
He's the first receiver off the board, and I'll be surprised if he gets past 12.
Yeah, he probably will be gone. Yeah, for sure. Yeah, man. So yeah, that means draft wise. I mean, that's we kind of broke it down, guys. I mean, we said it a little bit before the show, before we came on air. We were talking to Munchies ourselves. There's so many damn options. And like Xavier said, they've interviewed so many people across the board. We don't really, there's no insight. We don't really know which direction they're going to go. They could go any direction with, and I'm not going to be surprised at anything unless it's an offensive lineman like a Skoronski or something like that. I'll be kind of pissed. He's a good player. Don't get me wrong. I just don't see that particular value there at 8, considering some of the players that probably will be there at 8. I mean, and to put a bow on it, for me, if Jalen's there, you take him.
Yep.
If he's not there, I consider a trade back. I'm flipping a coin at Bijan or Gonzalez, depending on. Honestly, as deep as this corner, you could say it. See, this is what sucks. You could say this for both. You could say it for corner and for running back. Both classes are deep. So you could say, you know what, I'll take this top elite corner and go get a good running back later on. Or, hey, I'm going to take this elite running back and get a pretty good corner later on.
Right.
So it just comes down to who you like better, man. That's why, and who they see being the best. I mean, and then how the other rounds fall, man, it's just going to depend on. Yeah, I mean, need will come into it, but I still think that the way that Terry and they've approached this offseason is trying to really fill a lot of needs with free agency so they can go into the draft and literally just go BPA, man, and just pick whoever is going to be the best player there on the board, whether or not positionally or not. And I prefer that, man. I don't like reaching. In the previous regimes, we've reached for shit and it did not work at all. And I just don't want to see that again, man. Ev on the last show mentioned Desmond Southward some years ago. And we were like, what? I mean, going to Richmond and getting guys that we never heard of. Like, there's just no, you ain't got to be the smartest guy in the room, man. Like, and that's what Dimitrov tried to do all the time. So it was just one of those things. Mike, you got anything before we go to overrated and underrated?
Man, I want Jalen Carter, Bijan, or Gonzalez. When y'all say, I've heard several people say that there's no pick you'll be mad at. And while I'm out of my Falcon mind, I know Atlanta, man, we will draft a mascot at 8 and piss everybody off. Like, that'll blow your mind. So I'm not gonna talk shit. I have faith that it'll be one of those 3 people, and I'll be happy. I really do think it'll be one of those 3, but I don't put it past them to do something outrageous and dumb. Now, it don't look like that because he's made all smart moves. But I wouldn't, if on draft day, if my mouth was open, hey dog, I didn't want Drake London. Like, my mouth was open when that happened. Like, why are we doing this? Well, this wouldn't make no sense. I didn't think Kyle Pitts at a tight end. I was furious. So it's a whole bunch of things that, man, we'll draft a kicker at 8. I know us. So
we are not the
put it past us to draft a mascot or a kicker or some shit that don't have nothing to do with nothing. But Jalen, I think I'm happy. I hated that he got to go through this, but I'm really happy that he had to go through this because he would have never dropped to 8. And I think that's who we drafted. So I'm all for the trouble he in because I believe he will be an Atlanta Falcon because of the trouble that he in.
Yeah, and Ty said, I mean, the only bad pick at 8 is a QB. Yeah, and we didn't talk about that.
Don't do that.
I'm gonna hurt Todd's feelings real quick. I'm gonna be honest. If AR is there, I wouldn't be surprised if they took him. I'm just saying. They've already met with him, so that tells you how much how serious or how at least they're taking that into account in the event for whatever reason Richardson falls. And 2 things:
Twitter will explode.
Oh, absolutely. But and there's a lot of Twitter accounts that are going to at me in the case that this happens. So trust me, it's not a situation that I'm necessarily saying I want to happen, but I understand that they're preparing for it when they brought him in.
Right.
And when I want y'all to think back to the Kyle Pitts draft, they were taking Trey Lance at 4. Everything said that they were taking Trey Lance at 4. It was because the 49ers traded up and took him that we obviously didn't take Kyle Pitts. Why would they take Trey Lance at 4 and not think about taking AR? For the same exact reasons. Big, athletic, big arm, can run Art's system with that running game to, extremely high levels, and has to sit for a year. And I know this is going to sound crazy, but I would not be surprised if we took AR at 8 and Desmond Ridder was still our starter next year. Because out from all consensus, AR needs a year.
Mm-hmm.
AR, what's his name? Art is not a guy who starts rookies just because of they're drafted, right? We saw this with Desmond last year. Hell, we saw with Richie Grant his first year. He barely played, and he was a second-round draft pick. He will not play him unless he thinks he's ready. So don't be surprised. And now, like I said, I don't think he will. I have this strange suspicion that the Tennessee Titans are about to trade the 3 in the next week or 2, and they're about to mortgage their entire team to go move up for that. But if he's there, do not be surprised if the Falcons are like, look, we may never be this high in the draft again. Let's go get a guy who can change our frame. Let's go get a guy whose ceiling is next level. I mean, he's the most athletic quarterback to ever enter the draft with his size and physicality. So,
yeah. Now, why would Xavier do that, you ask? He just, we was trying to close the portal to the upside down, right? It was almost closed. The portal to the upside down had about an inch left. And right before the show ended, he threw a missile through the portal. So, Twitter, y'all have it him about the quarterback debate because that Lamar Jackson took it out of me.
Yeah, Ty said we're going to run through QBs on the 53, though. Art hasn't done that yet, which is a good point, too. Yeah, I mean.
Remember his time with the Redskins. RG3 and Kirk Cousins were taken in the same draft.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's true. That is true.
Super fact.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, that's a whole conundrum of what does that do to Dez? What does that, how does he respond? Like, there's a whole
trickle down that comes down.
Oh man, big time. Like you have to, like, that's a conversation they have to have with Dez before that pick's even made, type of thing. Because especially with everything they've said so far, like, all the bouquets they've thrown at Dez, which, by the way, I forgot, we got an email, Mike, that is from Rod. Appreciate you, Rod. He said, hey guys, love what you all have going on, man. I'll admit I'm not a big Ridder fan, a big Ridder guy, but I'll support him since he is our QB. I do hope that you guys will call him out, though, if he doesn't perform.
Oh, no, I will. Hell.
We'll get to that in a second. How long of a leash do you think he has this season? Like, when does Heineke come in if needed? Hope it doesn't happen, but it is a possibility. One thing on the draft, do you seriously think Robinson is a possibility after the year Tyler had? Okay, well, we already covered the Robinson thing. So that's already done with. You hope that we'll call him out. Yeah, dude. I think if you've watched the show for a while, man, like we support the hell out of all the players. Like, I mean, and yeah, I think Ridder's a great human. I think he's a hard worker. If he's not performing on the field, though, yeah, I mean, like, we're going to be like, dude, okay, maybe this is not the fit. We hope it is. That's our hope. But he may not be. I mean, but I don't think there's anything wrong with being optimistic about it. Yeah. I mean, I'd rather be that way than constantly ranting and being negative about it, because that takes too much energy, man. Yeah. So, yeah, I mean, Mike has called out his boy Matt on the show before, and it killed him to his core, but he did
killed me I probably shed a tear to call out Matt Ryan, but I'm gonna be honest, and my only bias extends to Matt Ryan, and I still did it. So you got to give us some props.
That's right. Yeah, man. Well, we're gonna be we're gonna be very fair regardless. I mean, and as far as how long of a leash, if everything they said is true and it's truly his job, I think it'll be. I mean, unless his head's popping off and he can't do anything and he's throwing picks left and right, it's gonna be fairly long. I mean, I think it depends on how the games flow. If it's him clearly making decisions that are costing the games, that's one thing. If it's other things going on, it's just that's a very loaded question, man. So I just think it's going to be kind of a game, maybe not a game by game basis, but like just
the season. I'm thinking,
right? Yeah,
at least half the season.
If you're going to give Mariota like 12 weeks, I mean, come on,
right?
You will have at least 8 to prove itself.
Exactly.
Yeah. Ty said, I'd rather go all in on Dez if he falters than the great options next year. Yeah. And or if Lamar doesn't get a deal, he will be another unrestricted free agent. Yeah. I mean, there's a ton of possibilities, man.
That's the second scenario he posed is exactly what I think Art kind of alluded to at the owners meeting. He talked about the fact that, they've done their due diligence about Lamar. But the thing he emphasized is he said, we did our due diligence and we didn't think it was worth trading for him.
Yep.
Now, he has had nothing about the idea of bringing him in money-wise, and neither did Arthur Blank. Remember, Blank didn't say he was too expensive. Blank said his injuries concern us a little bit. That don't mean nothing to us paying for the guy if we think he's worthy of the quarterback position. If Dez were to have a bad year, I think Lamar would probably, because we also have more cap space next year. So why not bring him in for an opportunity at that point? Because what you've done, and this is what I've said a lot of times when it's come to the Lamar situation, every team that wants Lamar wants to build a team first before they bring Lamar in. Because we've seen what happens when Lamar doesn't have a team around him. You see the limitations in Baltimore. So why in the hell would I trade all this draft capital, move all this money around for a team that's not ready yet, to just end up in the same position that the Ravens have been in for the last 4 years because their team wasn't ready yet? Or I could spend an offseason, a draft, and a whole year developing my guys. And then let's say the Falcons, are 7-10 again, and the sole reason they are is because Dez couldn't hit that next level.
Yep.
Go out and get a quarterback, and let's say we're a top 10 defense. Both Pitts and London have over 800 yards. The writing's on the wall. Dez just couldn't make the plays when he needed to. So you go elevate your quarterback position, which they've always said they've never been content at quarterback. We're 3 years in, and we've done things like go after Deshaun, think about going to get Trey Lance, piss off the former franchise quarterback, and take a kid in the third round, all in 2 seasons. Yep. So why wouldn't they think to elevate the quarterback position if need be? But we might as well give Dez the year, and if he works, then cool. You got a kid on making what, $600,000?
Yeah,
back there with a $90 million in cap space. Let's go build a super team like the Eagles just did, and go try to go get us a Super Bowl. So,
100%, man. And Ty said, to be honest, I think Heineke could operate this offensive.
Oh, I know he could. I
played Tyler. I played Tyler in high school.
Did you?
Yeah, he went to Collins Hill.
That's right. Yeah, you're right. Yeah, that's right.
So we played him in high school. Kid is always been a competitor, and I'm so happy that he's no longer in Washington, because he's always been a pain in my backside, even when he was in high school. So to see him pop his jersey, I was like, yeah, welcome back home. Yeah, now you can stop beating us in like week 13.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, that was
Yeah. Always when we really needed one too. You just had to pull something out your butt. So yeah.
All right, man. So we'll go on. We know you got to get going here pretty soon. Underrated, overrated. Mike, you want to start off, buddy?
Underrated, overrated. I kick it off. I'm gonna go. I hate to do this because this was my man, but I don't care. Man, overrated. Odell Beckham. All right, dog. Odell Beckham had one catch, and y'all was comparing him to Julio Jones, and it was an amazing catch. I remember the 3 fingers. I said we had never seen that shit. He looked like he was a horizontal. He looked like he was sideways, caught the ball behind him. Amazing catch. But right after that, I remember everybody was like, he the best receiver in the league. And at the time, it was a guy wearing red with number 11, and it aggravated me because I'm like, hold on. A big part of saying that you the greatest has to be tenure, has to be length. Patrick Mahomes is the most talented quarterback I ever seen. I wouldn't call him better than Tom Brady yet. He's more talented than Tom Brady. He got to do it for enough time for me to say he's better than Tom Brady. And I feel like that's what y'all did with Beckham. He came in, had them lightning first 2 years, and y'all was saying I think he like better than Jerry Rice, and he better than Calvin Johnson. And all of us was wrong, because I was right there dancing and doing all that dumbass shit he was doing. I was doing it all too, okay? I just didn't dye my hair blonde. But I love Odell as a person. He the coolest receiver in the league. But, dog, Odell Beckham is overrated. I'm sorry, buddy.
Dig it, man. Xavier, you got one, bud?
Overrated, daylight savings time.
Ooh,
my time's the same. I got a short story. I missed an interview 3 times because of daylight savings time has shifted. I had an interview with a company out in the UK for a position here in the States, and because of daylight savings time, I could never get on the right time with them because we took an hour away. So I had to calculate for a different time difference than actually there was. So daylight savings time, I'm so glad we got rid of it. Should never happen. We're not farmers anymore. Not all of us.
Not anymore. Yeah.
And it's ridiculous. I shouldn't just be losing an hour because I went to sleep and woke up. Like that's ridiculous. So yeah, daylight saving time, extremely overrated.
I love it. That's the first time we've heard that. That's a great one.
That's a new one. I love it.
Yeah. All right. My overrated is if you guys have seen, I'm sure you have, the LSU Iowa final, women's college basketball.
Please, John, please address this.
Number one, man, it was the highest rated women's basketball game of history, and it was amazing. It was great because Caitlin Clark was ridiculous, and you know, so if y'all didn't see it, I'm sure you have by now. If you haven't, you know, Caitlin Clark did the little, you know, hand in front of her face, John Cena thing, whatever, earlier in the game, and Angel Reese did it later in the game and pointed to her ring finger when the game was pretty much over. Overrated, the dumbasses that went apeshit about Angel Reese's reaction to it. I can tell, man, a lot of folks didn't play basketball growing up.
Or sports.
Or sports in general. Like, and it's not even a cultural thing, man. Like, I'm a white dude, man. Clearly, I played a lot of basketball growing up. I talked a lot of shit, man.
A lot of shit. And
it was whether it was like on the playground or in games, like in league games, like that was just part of it. It's always part of it. Sometimes you're on the good end, sometimes you're on the bad end. That's just how it works.
Yeah.
The outrage over it, man, you know, it had a bad taste, man. It had a bad feel to it from a lot of idiots out there posting. And like some folks were saying, well, this was just a little bit extra. It was after. I don't care, man. It's part of the game, dude. Right. It's just part of the game. Like if Kayla had no problem with it either. She said
I had no problem with it. We're competitive.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So we're competitive. I mean, like you can't expect to do something like that and then not get it back at the end if you lose the game. Like I've talked shit and I've had it thrown back in my face before. Like it's just part of it, man. So yeah, the folks that had issues with it, y'all got other problems, man. That's just me saying.
It's really other problems. And I'll say this: use consistent logic. Yes. I hate a person that don't use consistent logic. If it's wrong when I do it, it should be wrong when you do it. It should be, man, I don't care who do it. It should be wrong. If a star that you love do it, it should be just as wrong as if I do it. Just use the consistent logic. Do not say it's permissible when one person do it, the second person do the exact same thing, and all of a sudden you see it different because you got a problem that you're not voicing, and we know what your problem really is. So why don't you just come out and say what your frustration really is, and allow us all to see the true person you really are in your heart.
Right, absolutely.
There it is.
Oh no, to piggyback off of that just real quickly, because I think this has also been a part of it. Hey, Jill Biden, just a quick aside. We ain't never brought losers to the White House, so why are we starting now?
Yeah.
I get it. I understand. You know, it's a huge moment in women's sports as a general. We ain't never had a losing team in the White House. Nope. And I think the farthest we've ever, you know, somebody brought, I think maybe it happened once in like 1907 with baseball. That's over 100 years ago. We don't bring the participation ribbon shouldn't exist at that high of a level when we're bringing the losing team into the White House. So that was just that rubbed me the wrong way. I was just like, since when?
100%.
Since when?
Yeah, man.
I got an underrated. My underrated. I know I'm late to the party. I just watched all the Avenger movies. Okay, I watched them all. I've seen them all. I've seen all four, and I'm going. What my one is? It's the third one to me was the best. The Infinity. Oh my god. And then 4 was Endgame. Number 1 was cool, and then 2. But Gwyneth Paltrow in the all-black suit, I don't care if that was the whole movie. If she could have stood there for 2.5 hours, and I would have gave it 5 stars. Jesus Christ! But I really thought that the movies were great. I thought how they tied into each other, how it went back into a previous movie was fucking mind-blowing. And then after that, I saw what else did I watch? Ant-Man. I watched Ant-Man, was good. Iron Man, I seen both of them. I really watched all the Marvel shits, and I had a blast doing it. So underrated is the Avengers movies. I really thought it was well written out, well played out, well everything. I love the graphics. I love the fight scenes. I love Thanos.
There it is.
So yeah, underrated. The Avengers, man.
Okay.
You froze for
and my man Vic helped me. He guided me through the whole thing because I didn't know what the hell I was doing. Thank you, buddy.
That's nice. You got another one, Xavier?
Absolutely. So I've been traveling a lot recently. It's pre-draft season, so I like to go to a lot of the events. Senior Bowl, Shrine Bowl. I try to make a good amount of them. Atlanta food. buddy, baby, look, good old Waffle House and on a Sunday morning, sign me up. Going around the country and realizing they don't have wings has hurt my heart.
Man,
I had a possible job offer in Minnesota, and me and my girlfriend both looked at each other. Both of us from Atlanta. We looked up their top 10 wing spots. 2 things. None of them had lemon pepper. Strike 1.
That's
wow.
Yeah, none of them. None of them had extra crispy options. Strike 2. Strike 3, which was a strike at that point, but I don't know if it's a strike anymore. They sell whole wings, not separated in flats and drums. They sell whole wings. So it was a strike originally, but now that I think about it, a 10-piece whole wing, lemon pepper, hot honey, I'm actually kind of getting down with that. So Atlanta-based wing spots, maybe you want to switch it up a little bit. I'll take the whole wing.
That's different.
The whole wing. You heard it here first.
Yeah, that's different. Since I did the underrated earlier with the whole interview process, I can do one more overrated. And Michael will agree with me. I don't know if you have any, Xavier, but and it's kind of it's going away now, I think, for the most part. But the stigma with tattoos.
Oh yes.
With older folks. I was in the grocery store and stand there and like the older guy. Like I've got have tattoos of both my arms, right? So, and saw the one on the left, and he kind of like he's having a bad day, kind of like scoffed about it. And I was like, and he said something. Well, I bet you have a hard time finding a job, don't you? And I was like, well, it's a damn good thing I'm on business then, isn't it? I guess, since we can't be successful going out there finding jobs. But that's not the first time that's happened. And Mike, I know you've had issues, and then I think it's going away now for the most part because the older generations are, that's, but yeah, like it's not a big deal. Like if you, and I'm not saying you have to go out there and get a tattoo. If you like it, that's fine. But if you don't, it's cool. Like, either way, it doesn't mean if you have a tattoo, you're a bad person, a dumb person, an uneducated person, all those things. So yeah, that was super overrated. Anyway,
I just want to throw this in there. I think that would go the same for it needs to go the same way for dreadlocks.
I was gonna say hair's the next battle.
Does not mean I'm gonna rob you or I'm gonna kill you or I'm trying to rape you. I'm gonna tell you something about I hate about having dreads and being black and having like my tattoos. You have to slow up when I'm behind. I have to slow up when I'm behind a person just walking on the street. Like I have to allow them to go because when I'm too close behind them, I know that they think I'm doing something to them. Like, oh shit, is he? So I gotta tie my shoe and do all sorts of dumb shit so you can have some gap space so you feel comfortable. And I shouldn't have to do nothing like that. But I think that dreads a lot. Like I should be able to have my dreads and have them. I want them red, green, or yellow, whatever I want to do with all my tattoos. And as long as I'm speaking to you like I got some sense, you ought to treat me like I got some sense. And as long as I'm treating you with respect, you ought to treat me with respect. Because I don't like the way a lot of people dress and how a lot of people got their hairstyle. It's some shit I wouldn't do. And half of y'all breath stink, and it's a lot of shit. But you got dandruff. It's a lot of shit I don't agree with. But I respect everybody and treat everybody good regardless. Because your appearance on the outside doesn't always reflect your appearance on the inside. I try to give you some leeway for that.
It's funny too. And I was real quick. Like me having to explain to Liam some of the stuff you've went through blows his mind. Yeah, because like he's only known you as Uncle Mike since he can remember, and so like to him, none of that makes any sense. Like he's like, what the? I'm like, yeah, dude, it's just I said, hopefully your generation will be like we can iron it out, but I mean. Yeah, like we thought it was us though, Mike. Like we thought our generation, we're like, we're gonna be good. We got this. We're gonna be. Yep. Nope. So hopefully the younger one will be.
Hold on, I just want to correct something, Curry. I hope I didn't say Gwyneth Paltrow old ass. That's not who I was talking.
You did say Gwyneth Paltrow.
You did say Gwyneth Paltrow. Yeah.
Oh, hey, excuse me. I was talking about Scarlett Johansson in all black. Gwyneth Paltrow is 100. I'm mad that y'all didn't stop me. Don't think I was talking about 100-year-old. Fucking grandma of an elderly lady. She cute, but like my father's age. I'm talking about Scarlett Johansson in that all black. Young, she didn't even have no powers. All she had was a gun. She didn't even do nothing. She can flip and shoot a gun. And God, what a suit they gave her.
I was letting you go.
Yeah, man, I was like, hey, to each his own, man. If
hey, no, I wasn't. Cool. I'm sorry for y'all. You probably think I had a kink. You probably want to see my Pornhub history now. I don't watch that type of stuff. Okay, it was Scarlett Johansson. I meant to say Scarlett Johansson.
There you go. Well, now we know. Anyway, Mike,
you got one Marley and you, Mike. Well, thank you, Curry.
There it is. You got one more to close it down, Mike? Or you done?
No, I'm done.
You done? All right, awesome. All right, well, dude, Xavier, man, thank you for coming spending
an hour
45 with us, man.
Thank y'all, good.
Man, it's been a great show, man. Talking about we could. That's the thing. We could talk for like 3 or 4 hours on this stuff. I mean, we just on the draft alone, we could probably go through.
Look, like I said, I asked you guys before I even hopped on with you. You guys were doing a draft live stream. You told me yes. I'm definitely hopping in for that.
Absolutely.
I am an absolute draft nerd. Have been one well before it was cool and well before PFF was even a thing. I've been doing draft stuff since I was like 16, 17 years old when it was completely boring. And I was the only kid that could be 17 years old and get credentials to the Senior Bowl. So love this stuff. This is my favorite time of the year. So, yeah, I'll be back on for the draft. Like I said, we can do all 3 days. I'm down for it. So
well, definitely, yeah. Well, like I'm glad you said that because I mean, we said it before, guys, but on the draft night we'll be streaming it live. So Xavier will be popping in. We'll have other guys that we've had on before be popping in. So yeah, you can have it on ESPN or whatever you want to watch, but you can turn them down, turn us up because we're going to be talking about it.
And turn off those Twitter notifications because they will spoil the draft.
That's right. That's
They're going to spoil it for you every single time.
Yeah, turn that shit off, and we're going to have to because we're going to have different feeds, obviously. So we're going to have to just wait and kind of say something or celebrate like a second or two later so we don't ruin it. But yeah, man, so we'll definitely have that going on. Then obviously for the 100th show, man, make sure you pop in there on the 19th, man. Yeah, come by and just say hey for a few minutes. But yeah, Xavier, tell everybody where they can find you, man, on Twitter and whatnot.
Yeah, all Instagram, all social medias, excuse me, Xavier_Triche, Triche. Like I said, I'm typically in the space every Tuesday with E-Rob and Ev. We typically the space goes all day. We typically start at about 10 a.m., finish around 4 p.m., talk about whatever, football, old people. I mean, we get into just the most randomest of conversations, man. We got a guy in there named Vaughn who we all talk about. He drives, a Coupe de Ville, and he's 24. So, look, like, so yeah, come through to the spaces. If you have any questions for me, I'm always here to talk on Falcons Twitter. Trying to create, a fan base that's well-informed on top of being the fiery fan base that we all know that we are. If we can have a well-informed one, I'm all down for it. So any conversations you want to have, even if you think I'm wrong as hell,
that's
pick me up, because I think that those kind of conversations are necessary. Because I want to see where your head's at, and I want to see what, and what I can bring you as information, and maybe, you give me a perspective I've never seen before. So yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah, man. Yeah, that's one of the reasons we want to have you on, man. I mean, like, we've connected with some awesome people since we started this podcast, man. And just one more, to add to this list, man. I mean, because you're rational and you do your homework and you actually watch games and you watch film and everything. So you can put together all that stuff, and that's why, like I said, we want to have those kind of folks on, and that you're not just constantly dogging the team for this or that or whatever. That just gets old, man. And you've seen it, and we've all seen it, man. So
and we need more Falcons content on social media. Like, I'm sorry, if national media not gonna talk about us enough, and they not, like, just call it what it is. Even when we were in the Super Bowl, they didn't want to talk about us. They want to talk about Brady, so they don't want to talk about us. So cool, we can talk about it.
You guys ripping Vaughn.
Ty's been in. He knows that we talk about Vaughn. He's got a box television. He's got all these things. He shops at the grocery store on Tuesday mornings.
Funny as hell.
We have titled him a 75-year-old man, and he, I think, graduated from college like 2 years ago. So yeah,
it's fucking hilarious. Jordan's a great show as usual, guys. Appreciate you, man.
Thank you, Jordan.
Yeah, man. So as always, guys, you guys can follow us on Twitter at Out of Your Effing Mind. On TikTok, Mike's been putting out the puzzle pieces, which has basically been going through all the free agent signings and the re-signings that we've done and putting that together as shorts. And then Mike, you can, as I bring this back up, just so we all know, we are brought to you by
Don't Know Shit at All.
Yes.
Do you have problems saying you don't know? Do you have problems involving yourself in conversations where even you in retrospect be like, damn, I didn't know what the fuck I was talking about. I think I should have just shut up. All right? Don't know shit at all. It's going to save your life. And I got a new thing next week. The Avengers are coming. I'm bringing the Avengers to Out of Your Falcon Mind. Just watch how it unfolds. It's going to be lit.
That's right. And make sure y'all check out, like I said, the new one today. It's only 3 minutes, 15 seconds long. It's hilarious. Make sure you drop a like for it. And again, man, if you're watching this here on YouTube, make sure you hit the subscribe button, hit the like button for us. iTunes, Spotify, drop us a 5-star review. As always, like I said, on iTunes, we will shout you out if you drop us a few kind words. You can email us like Rob did. Appreciate you, Rob. atlfalconfancast@gmail.com. Xavier, again, buddy, thanks again. And look forward to having you on some more for sure, especially as the season gets going. And looking forward to that draft, or looking forward to the 100th show, then looking forward to the live draft, man. I can't wait, man. I can't wait, dude. Yeah,
please go watch the 10 stages of being a Falcon fan and don't know shit at all.
Yes,
yeah,
yes, please,
absolutely, man. So, you guys, appreciate y'all watching us here tonight. Again, almost a 2-hour show. I know a lot of y'all like that. Actually, I found out on the line from Twitter. That's cool. So, because we've been trying to get it down, but we got it just flies, man. It's the time.
We had Xavier on. So, come on, dog. It can't be no real facts. We can't rush Xavier off the show. Come on, man.
All right, so I'm going to end the show with a Row One brand ad because I forgot to do it during the show. How about that? So now we're going to do our ad break. I did. So thank you guys for watching us. As always, we will catch y'all next Wednesday for show 99. Make sure y'all stop in and see us. Then we got our boy Chris, our Saints friend, and we'll go ahead and call him family. He's family, to talk about what's going on with the Saints, get his opinion on what the guys we got from them, and just have a good discussion like we always do with Chris. So we're looking forward to it, man. Mike, take us out, brother.
Out of your Falcon mind. Peace.
Much love.
Let's be honest. You're here because you love sports. We love sports too. And our friends over at Row One Brand love sports as much as we do. Row One Brand sells sports wall art, sports gift watches, and vintage apparel with ornamental designs created from real game ticket stubs and vintage sports memorabilia in their collection. If you want some vintage Golden State Warriors memorabilia, they have that too. It's a sports collector's dream website for anything sports related. Go over to row1brand.com to check out their great inventory. And when you use the promo code VSP15, you'll get 15% off any item on the whole site. That's code VSP15 for 15% off any item on the site. So click on the link below and go check them out. Row One Brand, America's best vintage sports art, sports gifts.